What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Valley coming at you with Mort Jensen of the NBA podcast fame, of Forbes fame, of Yahoo Sports fame, of HBO Max fame, and most notably, of OnlyFans celebrity. We are here to talk about, Grant and I just discussed whether the most dominant starts from NBA teams were for real. We're now going to buy or sell some NBA breakouts, which players are exceeding expectations or really balling right now that we didn't see coming. We only had really two rules. One, no Victor Wembanyama. We've talked enough about Victor Wembanyama, and everything you see from him is for real. And when Mort and I were going back and forth, no rookies were included because it's cool that Cedric Howard's doing his thing. Ryan Kalkbrenner apparently isn't going to miss ever. But they're rookies, and so we'll do it separately. We'll talk about rookies at some point. Before we dive in, though, Mr. Mort Jensen, how the heck are you?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. I mean, look, not talking about Victor Wembanyama is tough, but I think we'll manage. I think so.
I bet you he comes up because of a player that we're going to talk about.
I know.
Though, so.
I know. Alperen Sengun. Yeah, that makes sense.
You ready to get started, sir?
Yes, sir.
First player is Modest Buzelis, and we're going to give Mort the talking stick because he is our resident Bulls fan.
Oh, God. Oh, God. You and Brian Saporik, man. I'm going to need to spank the ever-living fuck out of you guys. No,
Don't
I am
threaten
not.
me with a good time.
I
sir.
know. I see. I was setting you up for that one. Look, I might be skeptical of the Bulls at large and their entire philosophy of we only need 8 to 9 good players and then we can compete for a title. No, you can't. But I will say, of those 8 to 9 good players, Matas Buzelis certainly fits that bill. He might actually be somewhat the savior in Chicago because this guy has legitimate star upside. I just can't hate on this guy, nor do I want to. I liked him from the draft and onwards. When they picked him 11th last year, I was like, yeah, they should have. He fell into their laps, but they made the right call. Like, I will give them credit for that because if they had passed on him, bad move. This is a guy I absolutely love. 6'10", extremely mobile, extremely athletic. His movement patterns off the ball is so underrated to me, and it's something that we need to talk a little bit more about. Defensively, he doesn't have the best metrics or raw stats in that category, but you can just sense he is so good at rotating in the right times, and like the timing of it all is so potent that he discourages teams to shoot from certain angles. And I think that more than just raw blocks or steals, for that example, is such a good way to like pinpoint good defense. Like if you can deter players from flat out shooting or to change their shots, that's a good defender. He certainly fits that bill. The off-ball stuff, Dan, is where he really sold me because what I was nervous about coming into the season was, the idea of like a heliocentric Josh Giddey offense, because we saw last year at plenty of times that the offense would stagnate. He would stand around, just dribbling the basketball, just sort of little bit like Carmelo Anthony when he was at his worst, so to speak. Didn't really move the ball. He would stand still. He would allow the defense to set. Now Billy Donovan has implemented more off-ball movement. Giddey, for example, is passing the ball a little bit quicker after he crosses half court, for example. He's setting up Trey Jones. Trey Jones is getting some ankles covered and like just creating new looks. But the way Buzelis has reacted to those two guards and their interplay and the increased movement is just so freaking beautiful. Like, he's not afraid to launch threes, so like he'll step into an open shot from there. If he sees his defender just move his head just an inch or two, boom, he's back cutting. Like, he is reading the defense constantly. Like, he's probing without the ball, he's cutting off the ball, he's catching and shooting. And of course, even when he's on the ball, he's doing stuff with it as well. But like, he's finding that balance of being both an off-ball, on-ball player. So basically what he's becoming, Dan, is he's becoming one of those plug-and-play guys, in my opinion. Like, we need to see if the three-point shot is real. That is something we still think. We need a little bit more volume to it, and we need a little bit more experience on that level to just gauge it. But like,
9 of 17 on arc threes, though, to start the year is a pretty big deal. Above the break threes is a pretty big deal.
No, he's been really good to start the year, but we're only 6 games in, so I'm a little cautious. I don't want to like oversell him too much. But no, he's becoming a guy who I think has the potential, at least, to become one of those plug and play wings who breaks that pattern of being, the oh yeah, here's a long athletic wing who can only play defense. So this guy will score, he will rebound, he'll defend. He even tries to play make it a little bit, although that is still the weakest part of his game. I think we're looking at a guy who is going to make at least one all-star team, if not more, down the line.
So you're just basically saying that he's a merge of Giannis and Lauri Markkanen is what I'm hearing.
he's you know what he is? He could be what Lauri Markkanen should have been in Chicago. That's probably the best way to phrase it.
Do you see, because you mentioned that you think the playmaking is the weakest part of his game, and I would probably agree. Do you see the ability for him to do more there, or even just as a from scratch type of guy? I think right now, when you have Josh Giddey, you don't even have Kobe White yet, and the way that you want to play fast, you don't need him to do any of that stuff. But like when you're looking at when the Bulls are going to go up against set defenses, and what does this is probably jumping too far ahead, but what does the next iteration of this team? Is Kobe White still there at the end of this year? Is Ayo still there? Is Vooch still there? Do you see the ability for him to do more as, I guess the term would be maybe as a focal point?
I think we're going to need to see more reps before I can sit here with absolute certainty and say yes. But we have seen some on-ball juice. We have seen that. We have seen him get into...
I love hearing you say on-ball juice.
Right?
I want to purr after you say it.
It's true. It's true. And we've seen him get into the paint. We've seen him get to, the elbows and make plays off the dribble, even like making the right entry pass or just seeing a cutter. So like there is a type of court vision. I think it needs to be a little refined. We also have to remember he's super young. He turned 21 3 weeks ago. Like he's very, very young, this kid. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, his playmaking is bad. There's a reason I phrased it as I did by saying this is the weakest part of his game, because in a couple of years, it might not be, the weakest part of his game. It might not be even a bad part of his game. I don't even think he's a bad playmaker. I think there is creation upside. We just need to see more of it. But to your point, when the ball is going through the hands of Josh Giddey and Trey Jones as it is right now, and then later on Kobe White, it becomes a math problem at the end of the day. I do trust him to get a tighter handle. I do trust him to improve that court vision further. The height alone is working to his advantage. I love this guy. I absolutely love this guy. If we were doing like a league pass ranking of individual players, he'd probably be in my like top 20, top 15. Like I find him extremely entertaining to watch.
I agree with you. I think he's super entertaining. And I think for him, the low-hanging fruit, I'll say this, I'm going to buy, just because it feels like everything if we're buying or selling these, I'm going to buy the breakout just because a lot of this feels like him building off what we saw in flickers and flashes next year. So, last year, excuse me. And so I think that ends up being a really big deal. To wrap up the playmaking thing, I'm just wondering if he can ever become someone he's a little predictable on drives right now. Yeah. And so can he just, this is the thing, but you also look at these guys and it's Karl-Anthony Towns still can't pass out of his drives. But I think Modest Buzelis, he's young enough to where it's okay, this is year 2. Right. Super young. Let's see if that becomes a part of his game. I would buy this one though. It's not tainted. I'm definitely influenced by how I felt about him last year as well too.
Right. I will say this to wrap it up, because it was almost too much of a love fest. There is one element that I do think is reasonable to ask more of, even as currently constructed and even as just a 21-year-old. I do think rebounding wise, he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. Like he's 6'10", he's athletic, he's agile, he's really good at actually, finding his way into seams. He can do that as well by attacking the glass. I think there have been moments where he's been a little too passive on that front. So that is something I'll be looking for him to improve on as the season ages.
Some of that though definitely has to do with, okay, you play with Vooch and Josh Giddey. Right, so those are guys that are going to grab up boards. But yeah, that's a good point. You buying or selling?
Are we doing buying or selling? Like just buying the upside or buying the?
Do you buy this? What he's doing now is real, or do you think it's going to be
real?
More of
buying a lot of stock. Yes,
buying a lot of long-term stock in Buzelis.
Yes, I am buying Buzelis Island and selling.
Not everything's
an
an
Giddey
island. This is Zach Lowe has started getting on that. He's right. Not everything can be an island. Speaking of an island, though, Josh Giddey, he's off to a rollicking start to the year. I think even if you said that Kobe White was going to miss time, would you have predicted that Josh Giddey would be the Bulls' leading scorer?
That's a good question. I don't think I hadn't thought about it, to be quite honest with you. So maybe. I will say he's played a lot better over the course of the past 3 games. I thought his start to the season was not great. I actually thought he was, for the first 4 games, I thought he was the 5th best Bull. And now he's really leveling up. I thought he needed to have a couple games where he asserted himself offensively just to kind of prove a point. So we're looking at something that's becoming more interesting. Still skeptical, Dan. Still really skeptical of like the ripple effects of Josh Giddey, right? Like he still doesn't bend defenses off the ball. That is still an issue. Teams are still giving him a ton of space, and you have to wonder what that would look like in a play-in / playoff setting, because at the end of the day, I assume that's where the Bulls want to be since they refuse to pivot the other direction, right? Like I have to assume that they want to win, that they want to get into the playoffs. And I just wonder the lack of his natural spacing prowess and the way that he just does not affect the game much off the ball. Is that going to limit him moving forward? Like I think to me, I will label him as this. He's a guy who can help you get into the postseason, but then when you're there, I don't know if he's actually helping you or hurting you.
I think one of the big changes that we've seen that I do think really increases long-term value is that he looks better and more apt to play into and through contact. And so,
agreed. Yes.
So when more shots are coming at the rim, he's shooting a career percentage at the rim. Not a super high clip relative to the rest of the league, but for him, it's pretty high. Shooting 50% from floater range, which would also be a career high. And so if he can be more decisive and physical in those spots, he can eat up space that the defenses are going to give him from beyond the arc.
Yeah,
and I think if he's also going to continue to shoot such a high clip from 3, that you will naturally, if this holds for an entire season, the playoff aspect will be different. Teams will still leave him open, but he will have more gravity. We've seen it with Lou Dort, his former teammate in OKC. If you take them enough and hit enough of them over a sustained period of time, you're never going to be respected the way that some other guys are, but you will draw a closeout. And so for him to be balancing those 2 things right now, I think is absolutely huge. I think what the Bulls are doing kind of does spotlight some of the concern that we've talked a lot about. Is the team isn't necessarily tailored to him specifically, but he has a lot of freedom the way that the Bulls are currently built. And he's driving value in transition for sure. They're 7 points better per 100 with him in transition. What my question would be, and by the way, him personally, 1.5 points per possession in transition. And to my point before about how he is doing better with contact, he has a career high foul rate in transition right now as well. All good things. Where I start to, and this might be an extension of what you're talking about the playoffs, where I still have some concern is just in the half court, or if you're going to need to eat up space or come around screens and hit a pull-up jumper. That still doesn't feel like it's part of his game. And he's sub 30% on pull-up 2s at the moment. He's at like 30% on pull-up 3s. The half-court offense is borderline worse when he's on the court, and we've seen that fluctuate a lot throughout his entire career. And I don't know, a lot of the off-ball stuff will be put to the test once Kobe White comes back, to where can Josh Giddey be the type of guy that we're talking about eating up space, but it's one thing to do that when you have the ball in your hands. It's another thing entirely if you're going to be displaced from it a little bit more. And maybe the solve is this is someone we want on the ball because he is a better passer than Kobe White. Some of the passes...
he's the best passer on the team. Let's be real about that. Yeah.
He's the best passer on the team, and then some of the passes, the timing on them is weird, and there could be turnovers. But a lot of that is he's also not, in theory, the Bulls are on fire, but he's not working with like the most seasoned form of personnel or the most reliable. Aside from Mattis Buzelis, who's going to be an MVP, we already decided. We've been asked a lot in our comments. People have receipts. I think they commented on the video we did. Is I graded the Bulls harshly when they made the trade for Josh Giddey, like trading Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey, and I've had a lot of, well, some of them it's been respectful, like to be clear. Like, how do you feel about this now? Would you still give them a D-? And then like, oh, how are you feeling now? Like, is any look, we're less than 10 games into the season. So is Josh Giddey making me rethink a lot of things? Sure, but I'm not going to change my stance at the time.
Correct.
Definitively. I'm more open to what Josh Giddey can do for Chicago, but I, like you, still don't view him as the contract. We said it when he signed it. The contract is fine. We didn't have, like, could the Bulls have negotiated harder? It seems like they could have. They didn't give in to everything, but I don't know that they won enough of the negotiation. This is a really good player. Maybe he ends up making an all-star team, but if he is central to everything you're doing, I don't know what the ceiling is. And if I were the Bulls, I would have preferred first-round equity for Alex Caruso. If you're asking in a vacuum who is more talented, Josh Giddey can do more things than that. But Alex Caruso just helped the Thunder win a title, too. So, no, I'm not going to say that I think the Thunder, like, lost out when they traded Josh Giddey. And you can also say, well, then it made sense for both sides. I think I'm more open to that idea than ever, but we need to see this sustained, this version of Josh Giddey. Specifically, the contact stuff, the foul draw, like that needs to sustain for an entire year because it's such an abnormality to the way he has played in the past. But I kudos to him and the Bulls. Like, they have implemented a style that suits him. He's way more of a fit here than he was in Oklahoma City, but we do have to grapple with the reality of Oklahoma City was a title contender and decided that he wasn't going to elevate them to that next step. And the Bulls right now, this is all fine. This is all great. This is all grand. What does he look like if he's your second or third best player on the team? Or not even best player.
The question is, how does he look as your best player? That should be the question because that's the way they're framing him. That's how they're playing him.
But we're kind of seeing it to where, no, I don't think the Bulls are going to win 5 out of every 6 games that they play. Right. But I'm more so looking at, can this... Well, that is fair. That's a fair question to say, well, how good are the Bulls if this is just Josh Giddey's team? I don't know what the ceiling on that would be, but my question would more so be, like, how can he fit into the larger context of the offense? Mm-hmm. And also, like, the thing that's going to change is Kobe White's not Trey Jones or Ayo Dosunmu on the defensive end. And so that's going to be, like, I'm going to be interested to see how the Bulls run out these two together. The Bulls did close the season strong last year, but there's a lot of noise there. I think where I would land to say I probably was out on the Josh Giddey basketball experience too soon, but I don't think my doubts of, can he be a good basketball player, that it was never rooted in that specifically, and so I still have a lot of those concerns, but what we're seeing right now is certainly encouraging.
I have so many thoughts and comments to all this. First and foremost, I want to attack this whole idea with, do you like the trade now? That is such a dumb way of phrasing it because you have to look at a trade at the time. That is how you conduct a trade. You look at that and you go, okay, what is this player's value right now? Could we have squeezed more out of it? You can't sit there and bake in, well, this guy might go down as someone better, and that's why we're willing to relinquish.
Very Nico Harrison Mavs fans don't get the vision of us winning the lottery framework.
Right,
because even if you're not, and I don't even mean to interject, but even if you're not saying, they could have gotten more first-round picks from another team, would you rather have Josh Giddey or 2 mid-end first? I think the real question is, could they have gotten more out of the Thunder specifically if that was their trade partner? And the answer, I would assume, is yes.
And that's my point. Exactly. Like, you want to get more. Like, so for example, when the Bulls traded Jimmy Butler, right, to the Minnesota Timberwolves, that was in 2017. They got Lauri Markkanen, the draft pick there, but they also relinquished the 16th overall pick back to Minnesota. And to me at that time, I was like, why? You're giving up Jimmy Butler. You don't have to give up the 16th pick in the draft as well. Like, that was so, and that was even under former management. That's always been a thing in Chicago. Like, well, we don't want a trade to just go away. So, like, we'll relinquish and we'll add in something that's totally unnecessary. And this was one of those things, again, where the Bulls could have gotten more. So, like, no, I'm not going to change my stance on the Giddey trade, because when people are saying, how do you like it now? You're asking us, did Arturas Karnisovas, did he have the foresight? Did he have the ability to look forward in time? I promise you he does not. He's one of the worst negotiators in the entire league. So, like, no. That's the first thing. Secondarily, okay.
Those Ayo and Kobe White contracts turned out pretty good.
No, that's the one thing I've always complimented this regime about. That wasn't just those two; it was also the Jalen Smith contract. That too was pretty good. They've done well.
I think it was fine.
That was good.
You've been a lot higher on Jalen Smith than most, but he has been largely unspectacular in Chicago.
Well, they
could have had Mamushvili. How do you feel about that?
Mamukelashvili?
Mamukelashvili. I'm trying.
Yes, Santoro Mamukelashvili. Yes. Yes, they could have had him. I would have rather have him. You're right. Yes. That is unfair that you chose one of my favorite players. You know what you were doing there. The second point here in regards to like the half-court stuff and like the ceiling-wise, I think Josh Giddey is becoming this generation's litmus test in terms of like, are people watching closely or are they still enthralled by raw stats? Because when you look at this line right now, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, looks fucking fantastic, right? Like you're looking at it and you're going, oh my God, this is like Luka. Like that is within those same spheres. It's not though, not even remotely. Like when you watch the games, you're seeing how it's so tailored towards him, and they're closing off like weaknesses path because they know, oh, he just can't do this, so let's hide his ass in so many of these actions. Like when you watch closely, you realize the raw stats, they certainly do not tell you the whole story. And defensively, I'm still worried as hell. The guy can't bend over, Dan. Like everything he's doing is like standing up. Like you can't even get into a defensive stance and stop guards. Like to me, he's not a point guard. He's a forward. He's like a 3 or a 4, and he's like a ball handling forward who needs to have, point of attack defenders in terms of guards. He needs to have other ball handlers around him. That is where you optimize him because that allows you to have a presence of a different guard on the floor. For example, him and Trey Jones in the early parts of this year, I freaking loved it, Dan, because last year he was like the guy who was doing everything. It was almost bordering on heliocentric. Now you had a guy who could break down the defense, who could get someone to react. Now you're turning Josh Giddey into like the secondary creator for a couple of possessions. That is where he just shines. That is his role. So I hate the idea of like pigeonholing him into like the point guard. He's a point guard. He's a playmaking wing, if anything. That's where he shines.
So we probably could talk about Trey Jones too if we were speaking of breakouts. That dude's been on fire since he landed in Chicago. Let's frame it this way then. Buy or sell Josh Giddey going over 0.5 All-Star appearances for his career.
0.5? So
he's making it. Buy or sell Josh Giddey making an All-Star team.
Well, so let me because you have to help me on this one. So in terms of like the All-Star voting, it is 25% fans, right?
Mm-hmm. That's starters, though. The All-Star reserves are chosen by coaches. It won't be players, fans, or media. Okay.
Then I'm going to say under because I think, assuming it is coaches, like I've said before, Keith Smith has told us repeatedly through, his sources as well that oftentimes coaches like delegate this responsibility to like video guys. So that's the thing. But if it's coaches actually voting on All-Star reserves, I think they're going to find players who are more influential than Josh Giddey. So I'm going to go the under, and if he makes it this year already, I'm going to eat crow.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sell Josh Giddey as an All-Star. I mean, there's a lot of injuries in the East, though, this year. This could end up being his best. Halliburton, Tatum. There's a lot of... And then there's also Trae Young. I'll buy it. I'm just going to buy it just to be counter.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I hadn't considered that, all the injuries. Okay. You know what? I'm going to change my stance, and I'm going to say over, but exclusive. I want the record to reflect that it's injury-related, Dan.
So you're selling the idea of Josh Giddey as an All-Star, but you're buying the idea that he can make an All-Star team is basically what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Next up, your guy, Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah,
what have you noticed from him?
So I noticed that he's not looking over his shoulder anymore, basically. He is playing with a sense of urgency that I don't think I've seen from him before. Like, I understand that some of the numbers may not look as great as they did in the past when you look at it through a per minute lens. But I think he's just been solid this year. The 3-point shot, I mean, it's a small sample size, granted. But like, there's a level there when he gets his feet just set the right way, when the confidence is flowing. that shot is starting to look good. He's hitting at an almost 44% from the outside. He's hitting 84 from the line. He's still converting on twos. Like, offensively speaking, I think we're seeing a more refined version of him. He's playmaking a little bit more. He's rebounding. He's being put on the best perimeter offensive player from the opponents. So he's getting the toughest defensive assignment on several occasions. When it's not him, it's obviously Jimmy or Draymond. But if you have a guy who's shifty, Steve Kerr's not afraid to use Kuminga's athleticism to try to negate some of that. I'm just appreciating the fact that we're seeing him turn into that more consistent, reliable forward/wing that we have for so many years been waiting for. I think we're finally seeing right now.
I've been really impressed that it does seem like he is fitting in better. I don't know if it has to do with, like you said, no longer looking over his shoulder or something's just clicked. Does he have a little bit more of a runway? They have not been afraid. What was the whole thing at the start of the year? Well, you can't include him in the starting lineup because of Draymond and Jimmy Butler. They've been unafraid to try that. His three-point shooting helps. Yeah. He's passing on a higher percentage of his drives as well. He's been ultra efficient in those. He's over 60. He's shooting 63% on drives. And so you look at everyone who's made more than 15 shots on drives. Here's everyone who's shooting a better percentage than Kuminga: Doncic, Giannis, Peyton Pritchard, Jalen Johnson, Austin Reaves, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Julius Randle. And so he's right up there. And the fact that he's willing to defer more on them, kind of a big deal. We've seen moments, though, where he'll revert back to, he wants to go right. The ball's in his hands, and he's just going to do it. But there's also, kind of value in having that bailout option sometimes. And he still has, when it doesn't always work, the agility with which he can spin with the ball in his hands or kind of change direction or decide, I'm really going to power it to the rim. There's never going to be the same dynamism as a Jimmy Butler in that scenario, but he's got it. And so as a longtime Jonathan Kuminga skeptic, I think I buy the idea of him fitting in more with the macro picture of the Warriors. My actual buy or sell question here, Mort, though. Buy or sell Jonathan Kuminga being on the Warriors past the trade deadline now, though, because of what we're seeing?
I'm still selling because we have to factor in his relationship to the Warriors as well. And it felt like that was pretty out. I'm open to the idea that he's oh, okay, we're cool now, we're fine. But we don't know. He might just be looking at this as a way of, all right, I'm in the biggest display window of all time right now. I'm going to make the most of it to try to get out of here. I don't know if that's the case. He's doing everything right now. He's saying the right things. He's playing the right way. But you don't really know where his head is at. And what we know is that he and them, that it became such a contentious relationship over the course of summer. So that's the only thing I can sort of pick at a little bit and say, oh, this is some data we have from back then. If everything is, no pun intended, kumbaya for Kuminga, that changes the course of the narrative and the discussion. But from what we know right now is that the two entities are looking to go their separate ways. And that's what until we know something more, that's the one I'm leaning towards.
I'm going to buy him still being there after the trade deadline because I don't know. I'm still curious as to what are the Warriors going to be looking for. If this is the version of Kuminga they had, and I know they've had a couple bad losses. Short-handed Central Division teams are apparently their Achilles heel. But what are they supposed to get? You're then talking about how do you upgrade from Kuminga, because I guess there's still a chance that you view them as being able to upgrade, not from a talent perspective, maybe from a fit perspective. But if this is the version of Kuminga you're getting, there also might be a level of, well, how are we actually supposed to upgrade from him unless we're going to go all in on someone else? And I don't know who would be that player. A lot can change now between February 5th, now and February 5th. But I'm going to buy him being on the Warriors to finish the season.
I actually like that because what you're really saying is two parties are coming together and hashing out their differences. I like that on a human level.
Look, it's also just, I might be sipping the early season Kool-Aid here. They've had a couple bad losses too, but he's been, I hate to overuse this phrase, but he's been more plug and play than I ever expected. And they've done a nice job of balancing. Like, he has a usage rate of him and Jimmy Butler basically have the same usage rate when all four of them, Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, and Jonathan Kuminga, are on the court. To find that type of balance, Steph is always going to be, that's who you want finishing plays for you on an ideal possession. But if you're able to strike that kind of balance between him and Jimmy Butler when they're on the court with Steph and Draymond, I think that's a really big deal. And the offense, even just 124 when all those four guys, or when those three guys, I don't even have Steph in there as the filter, are on the floor. I think that when that was one of people's biggest concerns coming in, and even dating back to last year, I think that's really kind of a huge deal.
I know you're not sipping the Kool-Aid, Dan, because I've met you and you are just fit as hell.
You also know my takes on Kuminga have generally skewed towards lower than a lot of others, including my co-host, Grant Hughes. We're on to Jalen Duren more, and I hope listeners, watchers appreciate just how inconsistent I am on Jalen Duren. Just the duality of this player, I still am trying to wrap my head around, like, how valuable he is. What would you pay him when he gets to restricted free agency? But from what I've seen from him this season, I'll start with the defense, because Detroit's been at times monstrous on the defensive end. I think even when people were worried about some of those early season losses, opponents are shooting 52.4% against him at the rim. That would be by far and away the lowest mark of his career. They're also just taking way more shots outside of 14 feet in general with him on the floor. I think there's two things, and maybe they're the same thing or driving that. One is he has better talent in front of him. And so we've already seen more of Duren and Isaiah Stewart this year than we did all of last year together, which has kind of been a fun wrinkle. Cade Cunningham, he has been a defensive beast for most of this year. Now you're going to throw in minutes with Asar Thompson, some Ron Holland II. I think the Pistons generally do a good job, which gets into some of my concerns of we're very rarely going to have two or more of Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, and Asar Thompson on the court with Jalen Duren. But having that better talent in front of Duren has streamlined his defensive role, and I think it's allowed him to make better decisions around the basket, be more of a deterrent, not getting caught out of position as much. The offense, the connection with Cade is just unimpeachable. Those guys operate on the same wavelength. Cade just knows where he is. Jalen Duren, for the most part, knows how to move once he's setting screen for Cade's, even trailing some of the plays in transition. Big improvement that maybe, I'm sure not for Pistons fans, but I think in general, that's flying under the radar for Duren, is he's just making foul shots. He's like at 84% from the foul line while taking more of them. That's a really big deal. He's been a monster.
Point, you asshole. Yeah.
I would apologize, except for the fact that I'm not sorry. And he's been a monster on the offensive glass for them, which, though, before I throw it to you, I still do have concerns. A lot of it being on the offense. Like, if you're going to be able to put him in this defensive role, there might be some matchups where it's not a Jalen Duren night, but that's just almost any big. And he's probably more so than many others who would we call, like, I don't want to say conventional, but these rim running bigs, he's probably better suited to handle some of those oddities. At least he has the physical tools to do so. Offensively, though, you could just kind of see it if like Asar Thompson doesn't have Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren, I just don't know. The Pistons have cobbled together some really good lineups with them, but they're counterintuitive, especially if neither one of them has the ball. And even if, like, you're not going to run a ton of Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren pick and rolls, like, those are going to be a little bit more easy to defend. So that awkwardness, and even sometimes after Jalen Duren is setting screens and just the space that he winds up occupying, it could get in the way of certain people that have the ball. I also he looks really good sometimes when he's taking those drives with the ball, but like the finishing on layups or when he's getting those deep seals in the paint and calling for the ball, and kind of the possession stagnates because, okay, he's in the middle of the floor. He's not moving. He wants the ball. He needs to be more efficient on those. But this is he is such a polarizing player. And I don't know, is that just me? But I just find him to be one of the most polarizing players in the NBA.
He is, and part of the reason that it's all about last year. It's all about last year. Because if you remember 23-24, we were already seeing the free-throw conversion. Like, he was hitting 79% of his foul shots, and he was looking pretty damn great as a sophomore. And what our expectations going into year three were, I think we were looking at a year that was in a bit of a transition. He obviously saw a significant He was significantly down prioritized last year offensively. Like he took 7 shots per game, and everything just kind of seemed off. And that's why everyone just kind of said, "Oh, did we get this wrong? Like, is he just a guy?" I think the 24-25 season is something we just kind of need to isolate and throw out a little bit. No, I mean, okay, he developed some chemistry with Kate last year, which is carried over to this year, but we didn't see the improvements. I think that was just a freaking down year, and now we're seeing, this natural progression. Dan, he's played 142 minutes this year. He scored 107 points, grabbed 60 boards, and taken 39 foul shots, and made 37 shots in 142 minutes. Like right now, he's a per minute monster. Absolutely a major per minute monster. He's just doing more. He has the freedom to do more. There wasn't that limitation put upon him as last year, where I think it was a new coaching staff, it was a new era. It was basically everything was new. I think he had to get accustomed to that. I think we're seeing him be so much more comfortable in his own skin, within the offense, within the overall schemes. So I'm ready to go back and just rebuy my stock in Jalen Duren, because I was ready to sell last year. I was like, he's played 2,000 minutes this year. It's looked mostly pedestrian. He's never going to really break through if it's going to be like this up and down career year to year to year. Well, he's breaking out now.
Buy or sell Jalen Duren getting $30 million in his next contract, which is, it's a lot of money, 18% of the salary cap next season.
Buying.
I'm going to sell that. I think just the way restricted free agency works, and I don't know that. I'm just trying to think of, that's like, what is that, around Jared Allen money, I guess? So it's possible. I'm going to sell it because of the way RFA works, and he still does have that rampant inconsistency from his past there. And I think if Detroit plays it right, I don't spot the team, I guess, also that's going to have cap space and come in and force the Pistons to give him that much. I mean, but also 18% that's a starting big man money. That's probably less than, like, that's close to below market maybe for a starting big.
Look, right now he's playing under a half per game. If that changes, and yes, you will have to cut down on the fouling, because that's why he's not playing more. If he sorts that out and starts to play just 28, 29 minutes per game this year with this level of production, and he can actually sustain that per minute production, we're going to look at like a guy who's averaging 20 and 12, who can at the same time give you about 85% from the foul line, which means you can't put him in, hack-a-shack situations. Are you going to tell me that if LeBron leaves the Lakers and they suddenly have money to spend and they don't want to, toy around with the idea of getting Duren to play with Luka? I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Duren could be the guy who breaks the offer sheet spell that the league is under.
Interesting. I look at the teams that are going to have cap space. How much space will the Lakers have? They're going to have to work with Austin Reeves' new cap hold there. Yeah. And there's the Hornets might have it. I'm trying to think of other team. Would Washington want to take a flyer on Jalen Duren? Probably not.
Well, we don't know. So that's the thing about cap space, right? We have to go through a trade deadline first to really know how teams are set up financially going into the summer. Now, if it turns out that post the 2026 trade deadline, there are like 2 teams with cap space, all right, then I'm going to buy what you were saying. Then it's not going. I'm not going to buy into that. I'm going to sell.
Well, but it could also be a Nuggets situation to where if the Pistons believe that he is their big man, they look at the chemistry he has with Cade, what he does this season, they could just pay him $30 million a year, because that's 18% of the salary cap and going down from there. I'm still going to, I buy Jalen Duren having a higher baseline than I would have said maybe even a couple weeks ago.
Right.
I think there's still going to be questions, but that's why we have to watch the rest of the games unfold.
Yeah.
Next guy up, Mort, your favorite player in the league who doesn't play for the Bulls, Mr. Austin Reaves.
God. Well, I mean, look, he's about to show team, or not about, he is currently showing teams that, if I do end out on the free agency market, and if you are interested in a guy who can actually sort of kind of mimic a first option, I'm here. I mean, this guy's feel has always been good. We've talked about this before. I hate how he's like been pigeonholed as an off-ball shooter when he's just not.
That's like not even his game.
Right. It's so annoying to me that's a thing that just kind of persisted. This is like, and it's because he's honestly, I think he's a better slasher / pick and roll player than he just is a shooter. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad shooter, but he's not necessarily the most natural 3-point shooter in the world. Like, he's someone who will shake and bake. He'll get into the paint. He'll get to the free throw line a ton, by the way. He'll make reads out of the pick and roll. He'll initiate plays in the half court. He'll do a bunch of fun stuff. He'll also give you rebounding. He'll give you potentially this year double-digit assists. Like, what's going on? But this is a guy who's sending a league, and not just a couple teams, a whole damn league, a signal saying, yeah, I could be that dude. I could generally be that dude, or I could be next to that dude. That is something we'll also have to track, because I do think there's a lot of overlap between him and Doncic, some of which works to their benefit and some with the exact opposite mantra. So we'll see how those two, finagle their playing time together over the course of this season. I just love his approach to basketball, though, Austin Reaves. The way that he's so patient when he's like gauging the defense and understanding time and score. There is definitely some Doncic elements in this where he's just like, okay, I know when the big man's in the paint, I'm starting to count. Oh, he has to move in a second, or there's a 3-second violation. I'm going now. And then he can even stop at the free throw line, much like Luka, if he sees that guy coming over to rotate and say, nope, I'm going to change my plan in the middle of the play because the situation around me has changed. Like, he's thinking the game out. I love what I'm seeing this year. I absolutely love what I'm seeing. So many teams right now should be salivating at the idea of getting him in there.
I think what's impressed me the most about his year is the passing. He is 5th, and I know that there's been injuries to LeBron, Luka missed some time, but he's 5th in assists created at the rim. The Lakers are not a team that generates any sort of rim pressure. So that speaks to the attention that he's drawing. I think he's gotten better as we've seen teams. We know pickup points around the NBA are higher, but there's just something surreal, even when Luka's out, when you see these teams picking up Reaves, just trying to trap him so high up the floor, or the Lakers are setting screens at the logo to try and get him free, but he's making the right live dribble reads and actively feels like he's elevating teammates around him. I'm going to be and that'll be the buy or sell element of this, is his price point in free agency. That's just to echo all the stuff you said about his scoring, the drawing fouls, like the in-between game, even when he doesn't have the ball. I know people this is not you, people still tend to get concerned. It's like, well, Luka has the ball in his hands a ton. How's he going to work? He worked with Kyrie. Like, that ended up being perfectly fine. He's worked with LeBron. He can work. Honestly, he's probably most ideal when you have another primary type ball handler alongside of him, because you figure out a way to give him breaks, streamline his usage. And we're at the point where you want guys to be able to drive, dribble, and decision make. And that's what Austin Reaves is able to do alongside Luka. What you alluded to, how does it work defensively? It probably can, so long as you have the right personnel around them. The Lakers do not yet have that. But I think both with Luka, without Luka, he has shown this is not some Lakers exceptionalism at play. If you're trying to say, is he a top 5 player in the NBA right now? Okay, we're dealing with sort of some market hyperbole there. I will throw it to you, though. Buy or sell? He has a player option he's going to decline next year. Buy or sell Austin Reaves getting $30 million in free agency?
Buy.
I'll buy that as well. I'm wondering, do we need to go up higher from that?
Yes,
His max from another, so let's frame it this way. His max from another team would be 4 years, I think 179, 180, around there. Buy or sell Austin Reaves getting a max?
Buy.
I'll sell.
Okay.
I really think we're going to see teams adjudicate more strictly how they're giving out maxes to non. I guess you could consider him a star. He's in such awkward territory, man. Just he's
Yeah.
27 years old, so he's not super young. He's also can only get the 25% max because of his experience
Well,
in the
that's his
league
max.
thus far. Right, I'm just
That
saying.
is his max. That's fine.
I would agree to your point. This will be, in part, he's not a restricted free agent. That helps. But there will be a market for Austin Reaves among the. I think you could name Portland. Well, Portland can't have cap space anymore. But Detroit, we just talked about. Austin Reaves would be fantastic alongside Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duren.
Yeah, he would. He would fit in so many different places. I actually want to go back a little bit because you were trying to tell me that, what I was trying to say was the overlap between those two defensively, Doncic and Reaves. Just to clarify, I'm actually still asking questions about their offensive fit because neither guy is like a natural off-ball shooter. You brought up Kyrie. Kyrie is someone who I would trust more in an off-ball capacity than either Luka or Reaves. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that's why, and I think in order to optimize Luka, you need to pair him with a lob threat or a versatile big man. I think that would be the priority in Los Angeles instead of giving him a backcourt mate who does much of the same thing that he does. Like, I'm not going to say that they can't work it out, but
so because Reaves, I feel like you could go and we just haven't needed to see it, but it's almost, I need to be careful how I say this. Austin Reaves is not LeBron, but LeBron is not the most intuitive off-ball shooter either.
Correct.
And he's ended up shooting a high enough clip on those looks a lot of the times throughout his career for it to work. But what also makes him special if you want to use him off the ball, if you want to, I guess you could have him screen, but it's not something we've made a core tenet of his game. Austin Reaves can do two things, is what I'm getting at. He can catch and go. So if there's any space, or even if there's not space, he'll be able to get around aggressive defensive coverages.
Yes.
And then also, he's a pretty good cutter. And so I think that he will shoot a high enough percentage. Now, if you're saying, do I trust as a spot-up shooter, when you look at kind of the tier of Luka's best teammates, so it's LeBron, Reaves, and Kyrie. Kyrie's at 1. It's LeBron, so I'll just trust LeBron more as the off-ball spot-up shooter. I think Reaves could be good enough to where I wouldn't worry about the offensive overlap.
That's fair.
Even in iota.
Yeah. I will say what we've seen from Reaves as well, like at some point you just reach that level where you're so good where you're starting to, like, if you're overthinking the offensive fit, you're sort of missing the point. And I concede that when I'm sitting there going about, the overlap, then I also have to catch myself and realize, oh, wait, this dude is averaging 31, 9, and 5. Like, perhaps I should just focus on the talent. Like, that will work itself out. So, like, and that's probably why I'm saying max to him, because, like, it seems like he is just reaching that point talent-wise where we are spending too much time thinking about fit, honestly.
He'll be a good litmus test for what are
Yes.
teams, including the Lakers, willing to pay. Because even if let's say he makes an all-star team,
Right.
I guess at this rate he could make an all-NBA team. It's sort of a one-year aberration he was really good last year, don't get me wrong. But his free agency will be fascinating. I'm just going to ultimately, it's going to be a lot of money. I think people are going to hate that. I think a lot of people are going to get sticker shock when they see the raw dollar amount. A max feels a little rich at the. I'm going out on a limb and saying a max fewer than 10 games into the season for Austin Reaves.
That's fair.
Stretch.
That is fair. I get that. What I will say, what I feel very confident in saying is, LeBron is now the third best player on the Lakers. Has he ever been the third best player on a team? Ever?
Well, the other interesting part about Reaves too is, are they really just not married to LeBron coming back, and how does that whole situation end?
Right.
I would still say a healthy LeBron is going to be better than Austin Reaves, but
he's making a case out of it though.
He's been better this year because he's actually played. If we want to go that route.
But I'm also saying, like, right now, I'm recognizing the fact that LeBron can come back, Reeves' like usage rate can go down, and he reverts back to what he used to be. But, like, given what he's doing right now, if we're applying that logic moving forward, obviously he's the second best player on the team if we're applying what he's doing right now. And that's just a wild thing to realize when LeBron is, like, on the roster. Like, I don't remember when he wasn't, like, number 1 or number 2 guy.
Next player up, I don't know if this will surprise some people, but Alperen Sengun having himself a season, averaging over 22 points, averaging almost 8 assists. So he's at 22, 7.6 assists, 1.8 steals, 1 block, shooting 53% from beyond the arc on more volume. His 2-point percentage has come down. What I think Mort has fascinated me most with him is that the Rockets have decided like he is going, and especially with Fred VanVleet out, this makes a ton of sense, but they have just kind of effectively decided that, hey, this isn't someone that we're going to need to give ball screens to. We're not even going to have him operate as the roll man really at all. He averaged 4 possessions almost per game as the roll man last year. He's at under 2 per game this year. I think that speaks obviously to the ball handling hierarchy. But even when he's having the ball, it's not oh, we need to give this guy a ball screen to get downhill. It's no, he's just going to go. He's just got a lot of tricks under his belt. There's also the standstill playmaking is fantastic. I know that his 2-point percentage is down, but he's shooting a boatload more free throws. 11.2 per 100, up from 7.8. The accuracy at the foul line is up to 78%, which is good for him. He's getting fouled on more of his drives. The 3-point volume, 2.7 3-point attempts previously for his career per 100 possessions. That's up to 4.6 this year. And again, he's shooting over 50% on them. He's doing more in transition, grabbing the ball, going. I am going to throw it to you on this. Buy or sell Alperen Sengun finishing top 10 on the MVP ballot this year?
Oh, top 10. All right, let me just. So we got Jokic.
Reaves is at 1, obviously, as you were just trying to argue.
Right, obviously. Jokic, Wemby, Giannis, Luka, Donovan? I guess Donovan, right? You got to go Donovan. Shea, obviously, that was the guy I forgot.
You throw Jokic in there?
Yeah, that was my number 1 guy. Oh, yeah. KD? I mean, on the same team. That's why I forgot about it.
I'll get out in front by saying I'm going to buy it. I'm
struggling to come up with 10. Yeah.
I think even the people who appreciate, like you and I, appreciate what he's doing, I don't think we collectively understand just how important he is to the offense or how much of just the sole source of propping it. They are more. Their offensive rating goes up by 26.4 points with him on the court this year. Their effective field goal percentage goes up by 16.3 points when he's on the court. Their turnovers just plummet. He is like the nerve center of the offense at this point. And the fact that he's doing it with, I don't want to call it imperfect, but it's a lot of dual big lineups. It's not the best spacing.
Right.
You get the cutting for Houston is just different when it's people on the court who aren't Alperen Sengun. The way he gets guys moving around him. I don't know if he's going to, I am saying if he's going to finish top 10 on the MVP ballot, he's certainly going to be an all-NBA consideration. I flirted with going there as my buy or sell Alperen Sengun making an all-NBA team. So maybe I don't think that's spicier than top 10 on MVP. However you would frame it, though, I'm going to buy it.
I've been thinking because there's also Cade and, I had the name right before. Who was it?
Jalen
Brunson, exactly. Like, if the Warriors make more noise, you got to throw Steph in there. What about Ant if they get going? Although I have some skepticism towards Minnesota. I can see it, though. Like, what you're really asking me is, do I have the balls to buy
The answer is no. You're trying to figure out a way not to buy. I can hear it in your voice.
I am. Because that's a little rich for my blood. And I'm like trying to come up with an explanation for why it is too rich for my blood. And I'm kind of failing because I think he's right on that cusp. He's right there. But
the fact that he's doing all this and just not getting as many paint touches because of where they have to give him the ball and where it's honestly incredible. I know the numbers aren't a huge jump, but this feels like sort of you look at the talent on this team. You have Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant. I know FVV is hurt at the moment, but and we've decided no, Alperen Sengun is the guy who really needs the keys for this offense. That is a huge deal.
No, it is. And by the way, into your point, go check out KD's assist numbers, by the way, because that is not an accident. That is not just a case of small sample size. he is being used more as a play finisher now in many ways. And that is something that has been unlocked because of Sengun. Sengun is like purposefully seeking him out, trying to put him in advantageous positions. Like that is a clear, design from the Rockets. And to have a guy basically be partly responsible of, hey, you need to make Kevin Durant look good. Kevin freaking Durant, who will look good on his own accord easily. That's an insane vote of confidence. And he's justifying it. So it's a really good point just in terms of like his influence and the importance that he has to this team. I'm not there. I'm not there.
I almost talked you into it.
Yeah, you almost did. And then I remember Reed Shepard obviously exists, so he's in there
look,
too.
He's Reed Shepard shooting really well from 3 off of Alperen Sengun passes. I'm just saying.
He is,
so
yes.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
Our next guy up is for you to take. Jaime Jaquez Jr. Mort. Is he back?
See, this is one of those situations, again, where you get affected by, a sophomore slump or whatever you want to call it. But, like, can we agree before we get into this, like, last year for him, it got really bad. It got really, really bad on occasion. It, like, where you were kind of sitting there watching him play and go, oh, can you even play him in this game? Like, do you need to take him off the court? Like, there were those moments. This year, man, he came back and was like, no, I am absolutely a guy who deserves to be, a starter and whatnot. The funny thing is he isn't, but like he is playing starting caliber basketball. But like he's determined to break into that, right? Like he's coming back and saying, I'm that guy averaging 19, 7, 5 assists almost. Like he's been so good. The footwork in like the mid-range area is fully back. He's not, I don't even know, like last year it was almost like, I don't even know what went wrong on occasion. It was just, he just looked like he didn't grasp the speed or the situation. I don't know what really would laid out the cause of it, but this year he's far more determined. He's far more analytical, I want to say, in how he approaches a defense. So like he can dribble the ball up the court. He'll see like a high screen. He'll go in. He'll slow down. And he'll like get his defender a little bit on a hip. Then he'll go in. And like everything is so much more selective, purposeful. Like he's got a purpose with everything. Whereas last year was a little wild. Like he was like, okay, I can get the paint touch whenever I want. Sure. But then he didn't really know what to do with it. He's got a plan every single time now. Every single time he gets into that paint, he's got a plan. That is extremely encouraging. Now, do I think he's going to keep shooting 64% from the field? Probably not. Like, we're probably going to see a slight offensive downtick as the season progresses, and that's fair. But what he's doing right now is he's turning a page, he is flipping a narrative, and he's becoming a guy who the Heat can actually look at and go, oh, see, we have pieces for the future. It's not just Khalil Ware, which I greatly appreciate because, oh my God, did they need that. So I'm on board.
So buy or sell Jaime Jaquez Jr. as a legitimate MIP candidate. We'll say finishing top 10 on the ballot.
Buy.
I'm going to sell.
Wow.
This feels very... I've been impressed what he's done, to be sure. You look at they've put the ball in his hands, and he's almost in a weird way. Well, not a weird way. Like, it's just he's outright benefited from the injuries that they've had this year because it's able to put the ball in his hands. Here's every player, fun fact, Mort, to have as many points and assists off drives this year as Jaime Jaquez. Denny Avdia, Colin Sexton, Cade Cunningham, Trey Jones of your Bulls, and Devin Booker. Pretty good company to keep, especially when you're shooting 55% on drives, which is the highest clip of anybody on that group. What is he off the ball? And when you have Tyler Hero eventually coming back, what I think is underappreciated about Tyler Hero is his ability to work away from the ball. What's also going to help Jaime Jaquez, if you continue to bring him off the bench, he won't be going up against as many full-fledged starting units. So there are ways to sort of game it. But when you get to your best lineups, I'm not tailoring my offense like with your best players. I don't want to have to tailor my offense that Jaime Jaquez can have the ball, and I still don't know what he is without the ball. I don't think the foundation of his driving, any post ups, he's not even taking threes. He's shooting under 25% on catch and shoot threes this year. I don't like for him to be in the MIP conversation. I think we need to step back at the end of the year and view him as what you were saying is kind of a core piece for the Heat or that type of asset. I just don't see it with him, or maybe I saw too much last year to buy into it right now based off what we've seen this year.
That's fair. By the way, you brought up Denny in terms of like the driving point production. Is he on our list?
He did this stuff last year, and it's funny. Portland has been killing it.
Yeah.
It's interesting because they've kind of been killing it with I don't know this a lot. It's just like Jeremy Grant, Ballin, Denny Avdija. You saw that, but like Scoot's not there. Shaden Sharp hasn't had the best start to the season. They don't trust any of their bigs, it feels like, on the offensive end. They are so strange. I love them. I want to make it clear. They are so strange, but I didn't look at Denny as a breakout candidate because we talked, I'm sure you and I did, but Grant and I talked about him as an MIP candidate for 2 consecutive years, like the close of that year in Washington and then also last year as well. And he just seems... He's really, really good. And if anyone doesn't know that about Denny Avdija right now, I'd recommend watching some. The Blazers are fun as hell. They're going to get out in transition, force a bunch of turnovers. I don't know what to make of them on the offensive end. They're just so strange in kind of a cool way, but also it's a little unsettling, right? When you kind of look at who have been their most impactful players this year. Okay, like Tamani Kamara, awesome. But like Drew doing a lot of lifting for them. Jeremy Grant doing a lot of lifting for them.
Mention from Dan Favale on an NBA podcast. I'm shocked.
We recorded the extension podcast. What a way to close out the Jaime Jaquez Jr. segment. And I had thought John Hollinger's big on why do you pay these guys all this money before you need to, like taking Tamani Kamara from sub $3 million to whatever he's at in 26, 27. And it was in my mind, like, you really should have focused more on that. I'm not like they took a risk there. I'm just watching him this year. Threes aren't even falling yet. And you absolutely give Tamani Kamara that contract. So,
by the way, I mean, Jaime Jaquez is moving up the MIP charts for one reason, because I so far at least, I was very wrong on my pick. Very, very wrong.
Cam Whitmore.
I even said he would average 23 a game this year.
We're gonna get to the Wizards because they have someone who's been playing quite well. They have a couple someones, but someone that maybe people didn't see coming. We are on to, for the moment, though, Quenton Jackson. Speaking of how injuries have benefited a player's role. Basically, every single guard the Pacers have ever signed is hurt. Is that right, Mort? Does that sound
more or less? Yes.
Quenton Jackson's been fun. He had the one huge game when they beat that was the Warriors. Him and Pascal Siakam looking like Magic and Kareem during that game. Essentially, I really don't know what to make of him long term, but I wanted to put him on our radar. He's drawn some pretty nifty fouls in transition, shooting 9 of 11 at the rim. He has the game. I don't know if he actually is overconfident, but the way he will handle the ball and try to get to some of his shots, it seems like he plays with an overconfidence that can border on recklessness. But he's also shooting 6 of 10 on arc threes this year, and most of them have been catch and shoots. There was that game against the Warriors. They had him on Steph for a lot of the night, and he was holding his own. And he's also, I don't think he's an excellent passer, but he's got good awareness of where Aaron Nesmith specifically is, but he will get the ball out of his hands early. He will get it up the floor. Kind of fits the way the Pacers want to play. Mort, buy or sell the Pacers having found just a miniature diamond in the rough with Quenton Jackson?
Yeah, I'm buying that. I am buying that because you know what? He's already got the mentality. And I'll tell you why. Because last season, in January, it must have been in January, in Paris, when the Pacers were in Paris. They were gearing up for practice. I had media credentials along with my 2 colleagues. And one of my colleagues went over and just to ask him if you could get a few minutes, because he was like, his logic was pretty impeachable. It's just like, this is a 2-way guy. Obviously, he would want some exposure in some ways, like to have some media come over and talk to him. And practice hadn't started, like it was probably 10 minutes away or something. Jackson just looked at him, man, practice is starting. And I was like, nope, I'm not talking to you. I am wired in, like I'm locked in. My guy came back and said, I like him. he was just like, nope. He was focused. He was laser focused on a practice. And I was like, yep, that's interesting. That is interesting. So I'm buying. I like it. He seems intense. He seems like focused. I love those guys. I have nothing. I have no way to back this up with because what has he done this year? Like played 2 games of 20+ minutes. Yeah, that's it. 2 games of 20+ minutes. Frankly, we have 0 data on this guy, and yet we're like, yeah, let's go, let's rock and roll, based really on 1 good game. I appreciate it.
It's fair. I think it might just be it's something to put a pin in because of all the injuries.
I love it.
That you're dealing with.
I love it. I think sometimes we lack the romanticism in basketball as well. This is it. This is a romantic pick. This is us basically saying we like this guy. We saw what he did against the Warriors. It's like a super small sample size, but like, gosh darn it, we are in. That is romantic.
You're not saying they're going to let Benedict Mathurin walk because of Quenton Jackson, or they're going to trade Andrew Nembhard because of Quenton Jackson.
That would have been the buy or sell question.
The buy or sell, absolutely buy him getting converted to a standard contract by the end of the year, right?
Duh.
We'll buy that. Next guy up is for you, Mr. Mort Jensen, and he is one Ajay Mitchell. Thunder just keep. We already knew he was a dude, but my God.
Right. How do they keep doing this, though? It's like, look, I liked him even coming into last year. And like, he wasn't bad either last year. Like, he was highly efficient when he did play. Like, he showed some on-ball skills. He showed some off-ball skills. This year, he's just like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to turn into your best bench scorer. I'm just going to take a bunch of shots. I'm going to get into the paint. I'm going to nail free throws. Like, okay, the 3-ball hasn't been, hitting to the point where he can. That's fine. Like, he's just doing so much other stuff. Oh, and by the way, while I'm being, your best bench scorer, I'm also going to give you like roughly 4 rebounds and 4 assists per game. Because why not? Why shouldn't the rich get richer? We'll figure it out. Like, he is so good. And the size, like, he can play both guard positions. He can even play in a pinch in some wing minutes. He's 23. So, like, there's every reason to believe he's going to add on to this as his career progresses. Like, this is one of those situations where the Thunder can just look at the roster and go, if we ever get too expensive, who are we going to drop? And then just give the minutes to him, because that's going to be okay. Like, we can survive. I'm annoyed at how the rich get richer. And at the same time, I love it. Just such a dynamic guard.
He is, and you mentioned kind of the shooting percentages. He's also shooting, I think, 2 of 12 from mid-range. But he can get to his spots, and he shot 40% on catch-and-shoot threes last year. I just assume he's not going to be at 30, 31% from 3 forever. I expect that some of the 2-point jumpers will come up, too. The malleability he just gives you defensively is another one of those guys that's, all right, he's not big, but he will just defend up. And you could put him on, you said it, either guard spot and then just along with some wings there. I still can't, that contract they gave him is highway robbery. I don't think he's ever going to make 2% of the salary cap while he ends up being on it. That was good negotiating by the Thunder, but it's another one of those instances where, they found this other dude. My question, though, so like the buy or sell on him is we don't get to play the buy or sell Ajay Mitchell being good, because that was kind of well established before this season. Buy or sell Ajay Mitchell being the most important player, most important Oklahoma City Thunder reserve this season.
Oh, that's a mean one. Okay. What you're basically asking me is whether I think he's going to be more important than Alex Caruso. That's what you're asking me.
Well, I think we also have to take in is, do you think he's going to be more important than Kaysen Wallace, too? Is Kaysen Wallace still going to start when J-Dub is healthy?
All right. So I love Ajay Mitchell. I stand by everything I said, but I'm not going to buy that one.
I think that's fair. I love Kaysen Wallace too. That's just another guy where I'm just assume he's going to shoot better from 3. It's like I'll see the shooting. Nope, it's just going to be fine. Buy or sell, him as should I say a top 7 Thunder player? Should I just say the second most important reserve? So that's when you get into the Caruso or AJ Mitchell of it all.
Right. No, I have Caruso there as the number 1 guy on the bench in terms of pure influence. Kayson Wall is like, he's so good defensively. He's like an energy guy. I think offensively, like he had the rookie year where he was just nailing everything, right? Like just truly one of those elite efficiency guys. And then last year happened. He sort of came back down to earth. This year, he's not been hitting that well defensively.
Well, so at least
he's been a starter this year. Yeah.
Right, and more of his threes are going in than last year, but 38.9% on twos is no great chase.
Right, like offensively speaking, he's still a project, right? And he's about to turn 22, so like I think it's reasonable to wonder, like, what is he moving forward? And in the playoff setting, that's just me. I love offense more than I love defense. I think guys who can manipulate defenses are more important than just defenders. So I'm actually going to go Ajay Mitchell as the second most important on this very limited sample size that we have, which is definitely going to make me look like an idiot when he doesn't receive a single minute in the playoffs.
I love the spirit of it. I think offensively, I like AJ Mitchell better than Alex Caruso. I think there's even a case to say you like AJ Mitchell. Who do you trust to run an offense right now more? AJ Mitchell, Kayson Wallace, or Alex Caruso?
Oh, yeah, probably AJ. Yeah.
I'm just wondering defensively, even though I think he's pretty good there. Alex Caruso and Kayson Wallace can guard fours. And
True.
I don't know if AJ I'll say I don't think AJ Mitchell can do that. It's a stretch on some wings, but if you're going to ask him to guard up to these bigger forwards,
yeah.
I like the spirit of buying it. I'm going to sell it because I still at least think if Alex Caruso has any semblance of healthy, the positional malleability on D. But again, maybe if you're the Thunder, you look at it as, well, if we get that from Kayson Wallace, how badly do we need it from Alex Caruso?
Yeah.
Can you believe we're even asking the question, though, with a straight face?
Well, I mean, look, this is a team that just keeps finding guys, so I'm there. I mean, look, they don't have their 2 latest first-round draft picks at their disposal. Like Nikola Topic, by the way, takes testicular cancer, like, so that all.
Yeah, well, you know what? We actually haven't covered that on the pod, so shout all the good vibes to him. Chemotherapy is no fucking joke, folks.
And it's, I have a friend who went through the exact same diagnosis, and like he also told me it's just such a mind fuck, really, because then every time you just get a stomach pain after like you come through on the other side, you're nervous, and it's just, this is not something to be taken lightly. I saw, typical Facebook shit, people saying, oh, so I guess he'll end up having no balls, and it's just, stop it. Be
when
human.
people,
just
I get when they thought it was an injury, and he apparently asked that the Thunder keep it under wraps, which that's the tough stuff, is that these guys are in the public eye, but then it just gets announced to the world that you have testicular cancer. But to make jokes after that, lame.
I hated it. It was just so.
But it's a mind fuck too when you're. I don't want anyone to get it, but like when you're younger and your whole life is supposed to be ahead of you, and you're not supposed to be dealing with this stuff. It's a different type of mental hurdle. So we wish him the best. Apparently the prognosis is really good, but even if it's really good, chemotherapy sucks, and so going through that's tough. But it is wild.
Go ahead. No, it's just about to say that him and then Thomas Sorber is also going to miss this year. Yep. Was it the ACL or was it Achilles? I don't remember.
I think it was the ACL, I want to say. I'll look really quick.
That's just that also sucks, by the way, for a young player. Yeah.
Injuries do suck, just generally speaking. And Thomas Sorber is out with, that was an ACL. Right. The other thing, too, is buy or sell Brooks Barnheiser being more important than J-Dub. That's probably, I think, how we should segue this.
Just off the name alone, let's go with it. Like, Brooks Barnheiser and Chris Youngblood, like, the Thunder are racking in guys with cool names. Come on.
Our next guy up, Ryan Rollins. Grant and I talked about him when we were talking about the Bucks' start. Holy hell. This guy just coming in, you're the second option now for the Milwaukee Bucks, and hey, you're going to defend the other team's best guard, basically. You're going to hit some, again, he's not hitting like the most complicated shots, but when you're looking at, he's taking some doozies. Like he's taking some fallaways. He's dribbled into his pull-ups. He has created off the dribble. The way he's getting into the lane, showing the patience and the poise and getting all the way to the basket when he does so. I am I'm smitten with Ryan. I liked him last year, and I've now reached the level of smitten. He's shooting 22 of 25 in the restricted area. More of those are self-created than you think, folks. 61% on drives, 46.2% on pull-up threes. And again, he's not doing the Luka Doncic prime James Harden stuff to get them, but like he is flinging them. Like he can come off the dribble into them, sidle into them. He's going to get them up. Averaging, this is not going to hold, but 1.24 points per possession out of the pick and roll. And he's doing all of this. Like he is carrying a real offensive workload. He's at over 18 points per game for the season, I believe. I should have had that pulled up right in front of me. But he's shouldering a bigger offensive workload. And maybe not the best, or I know he's not the best primary playmaker, but you're putting the ball in his hands, having him run more things. And he's still just kind of this defensive monster. You cannot... Good luck making an entry pass or a cross-court pass with him on the court. He is just a passing lane fiend. And he has guarded 3 of his most frequent assignments, Mort, have been Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and Stephen Curry. Their teams...
Seems okay, yeah.
Their teams, those offenses, when Ryan Rollins registers as a defender on one of those 3 guys, are averaging, again, as a team, 1.03 points per possession. That is low. That is insane. That's the type of stuff that he was doing last year too. He was cutting his teeth because of what he was doing defensively, and we kind of looked and said, "Oh, there might be this might be someone who could hit some jumpers." I buy or sell Ryan Rollins as a top 10 MVP candidate. Buy or sell Ryan Rollins as just a core piece of Milwaukee's team moving forward.
Define moving forward, like
beyond this year. This is not the whole. Like, Giannis is there. It's Giannis, Turner, and a bunch of dudes is, like, how it's been framed. Like, buy or sell, even buy or sell him as a legitimate starter in today's league. We're still early enough into the Ryan Rollins ascent to where it's not buy Ryan Rollins as most improved or trying to take super macro that route. I think it's just buy or sell Ryan Rollins as a starter in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm buying that. I think a lot of us predicted that he'd be good for the Bucks, but this is another thing entirely. Like he's leveled up to a point where he's become somewhat undeniable, at least over the first 6 games of the season. Let's see where he is at in a month. But like he's looked so good. This was so needed for Milwaukee too, because they just had no one really who could step into that playmaking role and do a bunch of stuff with the ball outside of Giannis. For him to do that while he's also participating defensively, while he's hitting 40% from 3, while he's being very selective on his 2s, while he's getting to the free throw line and converting, by the way. Like this is the type of get that they had to go find, because ultimately speaking, it might be the difference-making factor in retaining Giannis or not. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. And the fact that he's younger and getting minutes under Doc Rivers should say something, because Rivers historically is just like, unless you're 35, I'm not going to play you. So that's extra impressive. I do know that there's like a general lack of options on that team because it's a poo-poo platter for the most part. But doesn't
that make even what he's doing? Look, the Bucks have played well, and they have some. I think their spacing is probably better than even not you and I, but at least this podcast credited. It makes what he's doing kind of even more impressive, though, because it's not. Yes, you have Giannis on the court, and Giannis is just he's bonkers. But we were asking who is the second best player on the Bucks, and everyone just pencils in Miles Turner. This year it has been Ryan Rollins.
It has, yes. It has. Ryan Rollins and AJ Green is probably the third.
That's the one. Buy or sell Ryan Rollins as Milwaukee's second best player.
Buy.
This just feels so wildly disrespectful to Turner, who's actually been shooting well from 3 when Giannis is off the floor. What he does, I'm gonna buy. I'm just gonna buy. You know what? What if I always said I gravitate guys who are just gonna have more agency over the offense because the ball will be in his hands. Ryan Rollins will have more agency over the offense. So I'll buy it too.
That could be disrespectful to Miles Turner. You give him a Lego set, he'll be fine. He'll be like, okay, I'll take it.
The contract for him is still good, 3 years, $12 million. But if they would have gotten like a team option or something on that 3rd year rather than a player option, because right now, having him for $4 million this year and next year is like that's a home run for Milwaukee.
Of course, yes. It's almost like getting a guy who's underpaid is a good thing to actually rebuild your team around, something that's
For a
positive.
team, yeah.
I hate how they constructed this whole thing. I still think it's a mess of a roster.
The Bucks?
Yeah.
So you're selling the idea of the Bucks being a real force in the East overall?
If Giannis misses like 15, 20 games, I'm selling that. Yeah. Giannis is like, he's the swing factor, obviously, but like he's just such a ridiculous player that you could sleepwalk your way into 40 wins with him.
I don't remember where their over-under ended up being at. It was like 42.5, right? I might be prepared to buy I don't know if I picked over for them, but I might be prepared to buy it now. I think the Bucks, I guess stood out to me is I just expected them to die every time Giannis was off the court. And it seems like they might be a mishmash, but it's a mishmash that can fend for themselves a little bit longer than I would have expected.
For now, yeah. We'll see.
Next up's Tyrese Maxey, Mort. Buy or sell Tyrese Maxey making All-NBA this year?
Buy.
All right, you want to move on?
Yeah.
All right, I'm good. He's been incredible. The dynamic with VJ and the fact that he's doing this in part because of the way the Sixers play, like fewer of his buckets are self-created this year than they were last year, which is kind of mind-boggling to think about when you know what's going on with Joel Embiid, Paul George. You're relying on a rookie in VJ Edgecombe. I know there was a lot made about his 2-point percentage earlier on in the year. Over 60% on floaters. Right now, the stop on a dime decision-making for him has just gotten a lot better. More of a pull-up threat off the dribble. I think I'm going to buy him as an All-NBA. Not candidate. I'll buy him making All-NBA this year, especially what did we talk about with Josh Giddey making an All-Star team? I know All-NBA is the entire league, but when you don't have Tatum or Halliburton to have to kind of fend with there, and we know Joel Embiid's not going to play in enough games or even be up to snuff at that level. With all the names that feel like they're kind of coming off the board, is LeBron even going to be eligible for All-NBA? It doesn't seem like he's going to play in 65 games. I'll buy it as well.
Great. We're done on Tyrese Maxey. That was quick.
That's really all you want to do on no thoughts on Tyrese?
Honestly, no. You basically said it. He's Tyrese Maxey, and he's look. I don't want to go long on this one because it's pretty simple. I don't even care how many wins the Sixers end up with this year. It's all about finding an alternate path to somewhat that resembles success without the presence of Joel Embiid or Paul George necessarily, because you can't rely on them in terms of the health factor. Tyrese Maxey is their new star. He's their new priority. He's their new turning point. He's their new everything. That is the guy you build around now. You can't in any way, shape, or form allow yourself to go in and make roster moves with the mindset of how does this improve Joel or Paul George? Fuck that. That ship that's sailed. It's over. It's done. It's all about how do we surround Tyrese Maxey with the right talent.
Does that make you more or less inclined, if you're the Sixers, you're now planning, because he is on his second deal. It's the Fun Max, to be fair. He's young.
It's the Fun Max.
But you also have VJ Edgecombe. Are you looking at, and Jared McCain, of course, Quentin Grimes, too. There's a lot of guards floating around in Philly, a lot of good guards. Are you taking the longer view to where we're not looking, I get what you're saying, build around Tyrese Maxey, but when you say build around Tyrese Maxey, does that mean kind of go through a process, or is this you think you're ready to build a winner around Tyrese Maxey at the moment?
Well, no, at the moment it's pretty tough because $106 million this year alone is tied up in Joel Embiid and Paul George. So what I'm saying is whenever you make draft picks, for example, whenever you make trades moving forward, it has to be with him in mind instead of Joel Embiid in mind.
I think that's the right call. If they're not there, I would question.
They should be.
Yeah, if they're not there, they should be. Next up, your guy, Steph Castle. And look, he's going to have more of an opportunity. Not only is De'Aaron Fox out, but now Dylan Harper is going to miss a few weeks with a calf strain.
That's
rough.
Do
you find yourself, aside, every year I feel like I keep saying injuries just keep getting worse and worse. They're more rampant. I'm saying the same thing again. I just feel like there's a lot of dudes out right now.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I feel the same way. That is what happens when you have a league who now starts their their defense at 40 feet out instead of 20 feet out, which is one of my biggest pet peeves is when people say, well, people didn't get injured in the 80s and 90s. Well, no, because, they didn't pick anyone up until they more or less approached like 20 feet and in. So, like, you didn't really move all that much on defense as you are now.
The stress the modern day NBA puts on bodies from a game-to-game basis, I don't know how you argue that it's anything more than at an all-time high.
So I actually, like, I don't remember where I read this, but someone said that the physical stress NBA players are approaching is reminding them that it was some personal trainer or something, more of what an NFL player is going through, for a game-to-game basis. And that's just mind-blowing because how many games is it in the NFL? 17? I think 17 games. And then 82 in the NBA. Like, that is a major disconnect there if that's, like, what an NBA player goes through physically. So if that even resembles, from a single-game perspective, to what an NFL player does from a single game perspective. That's worrying on so many levels. We'll see. Stephon Castle, though. I know a lot of people are down on him. I get that. I get that the shooting concern is real because it is. I mean, he is not someone.
Or he's shooting 34.6% on threes with volume, though.
I know. This is, again, and this is the Josh Giddey thing all over again, right? Like, context is so necessary. Like, he's hitting only 18% of his pull-ups. Like, everything for him has to be served. And from a shooting perspective, obviously. And that's the only thing I'm talking about here. Like, so he's hitting 42% on wide open threes, like 6+ feet. On anything else, he's either not hit or he's hitting 14%. So, like, he has to be wide freaking open to shoot that rock. That is majorly concerning. He's not hit his free throws, although he is getting to the line. What I love, Dan, is everything else. The way that he's slashing, the way that he's driving, the way he's just dunking on people, like literally just getting into the paint, rising up, and like looking at that poor defender under the basket thinking, oh, he's going to lay the ball up on the glass. And no, he's just going to keep going up. And he's going to put the ball in the basket and just dunk on those guys. Like, that is remarkable to me. His all-around game, I think, is becoming more and more underrated. Like, I think the passing is so interesting because to start the year, he had a ton of turnovers. He was in his own head. Then he dialed that down. Still is making, like, really solid reads. He's clawing his way to rebounds. He's just such a high utility player. Like, is he a star? Probably not. But he's one of those guys who is just going to win you games somehow, some way, off defense, off energy, of just suddenly putting in 23 points off of sheer drives. I think he's far better than what we give him credit for. I think his weakness, which is grand, is a big effing weakness, is getting a little too much overblown or at least giving it the process of we're forgetting what he's doing defensively. We're forgetting what he's doing on the glass. We're forgetting what he's doing driving wise. We're forgetting what he's doing playmaking wise. Like, he is a good ass basketball player. He does so much on the floor. I'm not convinced he's a star, but I am convinced that he's good and influential.
As someone who's been notoriously lower on him, I don't know if I'd be lower on him than consensus now, but what I really like, the defensive stuff is just that we don't need to get into it. He's awesome on that end. Yeah. You mentioned the driving. That's been big. He's the third highest foul rate on drives right now among players who have scored at least 35 points on drives, which is a pretty big group at the moment. What I think has most impressed me, and look, by the way, I know you mentioned the gravity thing with Josh Giddey. If you told me that he's just going to shoot 35% from three-point range on those looks, and you mentioned the wide open percentage, that's fine. Because of his driving, what did we talk about with Giddey? You don't have that question with Steph Castle. He will eat up that space that you give him.
Yes.
I think what might give me more confidence in his offense than I had before is we all know, like, you'll get the playmaking assist stuff in transition, or Victor Wembanyama is such this skyscraping target, you will be able to find assists anyway. It seems like he's going to be able to make those swing cross-court kickouts when he's coming around a screen and going downhill. And he actually doesn't have a ton of assists on drives. But if you're just going to give him a ball screen in a pick and roll or something, that part of his game this year feels better. And so I'm higher on Steph Castle than I was this time last year. There are two buy or sells we could go with. Let's go with the easy one. Buy or sell Steph Castle finishing as the second leading scorer on the Spurs this season.
Buy.
Really, even with De'Aaron Fox coming back?
So here's the thing about Fox that concerns me a little bit. It's actually in part because of you that I'm a little down on that experience. The spacing isn't great in San Antonio. Now that Wemby has limited his own three-point attempts, I am wondering if Fox is going to get the necessary space to get into that mid-range area and actually get open looks. I wonder because he could always leverage someone else, the spacing of someone else to get those shots. Can he do that here? Is there enough spacing around for him to leverage other guys' shooting capabilities of getting the shots that he wants? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, and if so, I'm going to be wrong. But when it comes to his capabilities as a driver and Steph Castle's ability as a driver, just finishing plays around the rim, just creating something out of nothing, I just trust a guy who's bigger. And I'm not just talking taller, but also physically bigger, larger. Castle is 6'6", 225. So I think there's a component there for Castle where he can drive his way to 15 points a game, and then he'll come then you'll have the occasional three, you'll have some free throws. The 20-point average that he's on right now, it wouldn't even shock me if that grows. Whereas with Fox, is the spacing available to him to be able to go as fast downhill as before, to get to those mid-range jump shot that he loves? I don't know the answer to that.
I'll sell because I think that even in Sacramento, Fox has shown that he can work within tight confines to get his. And even if that's a really good point on the driving and the finishing, looking at the bigger body, the stronger body in Castle, and just being used as more of a play finisher where De'Aaron Fox did some of that away from the ball off Sabonis. But I don't know if you're going to do that in San Antonio with Wemby, or you're going to try it with Dylan Harper or Steph Castle himself. I just think that Fox is going to be given more eight. If Wemby's not on the floor, De'Aaron Fox will probably be on the floor running the offense. And even if he's playing alongside Dylan Harper or Steph Castle, he's going to be the one that would run. I just think that he's going to have more control of the ball, and he is a score-first guard. But, go ahead.
No, it's fair because they just gave him the max and a 30% max. So
he's also good.
He's good.
De'Aaron Fox is good.
No. If I gave the impression that I don't think De'Aaron Fox is good, then I failed as a podcaster. That is not what I want to insinuate. I love him. I think it's just it's the spacing thing that just keeps going around and around in my head, but I do hear you, and they gave him a 30% max. So
but
you're probably right.
This one's interesting. Buy or sell Steph Castle making an all-star team, not this season, but is he an all-star for his career?
Yes. Just buy.
I want to buy, but what is the archetype of player that became an all-star? It just feels like these types of players, specifically at the guard position, or even if you might view them as a wing, especially when the Spurs are at full strength, feels like they're perennially underappreciated. And I'm trying to think of what would be a good comp for a player that routinely made all-star games while having... Go ahead.
I don't think we need a comp, Dan. I think we need to look at it through what we talked about earlier with the coaches. If a coach has to game plan for a guy defensively and offensively, there are not a lot of those guys around.
His case, it's not dissimilar to Amen Thompson, right?
Oh, that's interesting. No, I mean, I think Thompson is, which is wild to say because Castle is so athletic. Thompson is more athletic. He might be a little bit more.
He's more of a nuclear force for sure.
Right. Yes. But Castle's production is up there. I don't think there's the disparity between them is all that much as people like to make it out as.
I think I'm gonna sell. I don't feel good about it. Spurs fans don't like it, but I'm going to sell. I just don't know that that's the. And by the way, all-star selections are no longer this great metric for how good was player X.
Like,
but
let's play in a game that doesn't matter and where we don't care whatsoever. That is where the honor lies in. Yes, great.
Our final guy, Mort, Mr. Kyshawn George of the Washington Wizards. I have so many thoughts on Kyshawn George, but I have a question before why? Why are you pissed? You want to? Because he's where do you land on sophomores winning most improved player though?
Hate it. So I have a rule. I don't know if you remember this, but for years and years and years, I had a rule. I still have that rule with Brian Spork. I don't want second-year guys winning it, and I don't want former lottery picks winning it.
The lottery picks one is stupid.
No, it's not. It's like it comes with expectations. It's not stupid. It's super smart. You're stupid.
Yeah, honestly, I can't argue with that. Kyshawn George, though, I want to start you off with a question that you're already going to know the answer to before I dig in. Who leads the Wizards in points created off assists this season?
Points created off assists? Probably him, I'm guessing. Yes.
It's fucking him. Kyshawn George has been amazing. I want to recognize that I don't expect all of the efficiency to hold. He is currently shooting 54.5% from three, 44.5% on pull-up triples. I think he's at like 1,000,000,000% on catch-and-shoot triples. His clip at the rim is 15 of 18. That's pretty high, Mort. I don't know if you knew that. I think...
that's something that I think is... Like, he's being selective, too, and I like that about him, because last year when he came in, I don't know if you remember, but it was like, I'm only going to shoot threes. This is going to be my role in the league. That was more or less like how he was pegged, like coming in. And so for him to suddenly say, no, you know what? Going into year two, I'm going to do more. I'm going to try to get to the line a little bit more. I'm going to try to convert at the rim a little bit more. I have a sneaky suspicion, Dan, that he's been speaking a lot to Corey Kispert and like picking his brain, because Corey is like one of the most underrated at rim finishers in the league and has been for like years. It wouldn't shock me if there's been some notes comparing there, because if George suddenly turns into someone who's just more than what we were supposed to be getting from him, major win for the Wizards.
That's interesting, because he doesn't, like, Corey Kispert doesn't really do what Kyshawn George is doing right now. Like, Kyshawn George is... They're having him like run the offense. He's running 7 pick and rolls per game, up from 2 last year. I echo the patience thing that you said when he's in the lane. I think it's helped get him. He's another one who's taking some audacious shot attempts at points, but he's getting deep on some of his drives or when he's coming around ball screens, and that's absolutely huge. He looks very comfortable. Again, the efficiency in all likelihood will not hold, but he is so comfortable getting off of those pull-ups. And I think when you're looking at the passing specifically, none of it is super complicated, but it's just as far as having his head up, like when he's dribbling the ball up the floor, being able to find guys if he's coming out of pick and rolls, like he can spray. He's going to see some of the, like, I should say some of the bigs. It's not like they have a ton of bigs on Washington. I'm very curious to see what he could do if there was more, like, rather than kicking out, if there was more lobs being thrown to Alex Sarr. Or even if there was more of like a traditional rim running big man on this team that's not, a Marvin Bagley, just to be clear. I don't know if this is someone you look at and say, oh, okay, he is going to run the offense. That's not what a lot of this is happening, and it's still coming within the flow of Washington's offense. But this is like what he's doing right now. Even if the efficiency comes down, this feels like the actual player, to where is this a bigger version of they're different games, but like I don't even know who's the best comp, but is this a bigger version of just like what Derek White is to the Celtics at his peak, to where he could do things as like on his own. And that's a lot of what we're seeing now from Washington. And so I was going to buy or sell to you as Kyshawn George as the Wizards' highest upside young player.
No, I'm gonna sell on that one. I mean, Alex Sarr still. Sorry. I mean, I hear you, but at the end of the day,
I didn't say I was buying it. That's just that's the buy or sell that's being proposed.
Right?
Here
No, I'm selling. I'm look. Alex Sarr, I understand that the rookie season he went through was, borderline disastrous in some areas. And I know a lot of Wizards fans were like, all actually like 9 out of 12 of them, all of them, were like basically, do we trust this guy? Like, is this the guy for the future? We're seeing him start of the year number 2, so much better. When you have a 7-footer who can drill threes, who can block shots, who can rebound, who can pass the ball, who can run in transition, who can participate in half-court sets as well, where, yes, he does still need some polishing, but still, that to me will always be so much more influential than a wing who can sort of create part-time.
I think I would have to sell it too, and I would probably still lean towards Alex Sarr, and I love Bilal Coulibaly. But I think maybe, and this is like the niche buy or sell, is if we're buying or selling that Kyshawn George is more than just a tertiary, like 3rd or 4th creator on a team, I would buy it. I think there's more that he could do for the offense, and maybe once the shot making pulls back a little bit, perhaps I'll feel differently. But this is what they're seeing now. This is kind of just like fortunes altering for them from him. And I would agree. I think Sarr is probably, I really do like Coulibaly, but I don't think he's, who has, of the young players, who has the highest upside offensively for the Wizards? It's probably still Sarr. He has 10 dunks this year, Mort. I think only 2 of them are out of alley-oops. How do you feel about that?
That's a weird way to spell Cam Whitmore in terms of the highest upside. No, yeah.
How's that MIP pick working out?
No, I mean, the answer is Alex Sarr, right? It's the
So
dunks.
who would be 2? Is it still Trey Johnson? Would you consider Coulibaly?
No. So I like Trey Johnson. I might legitimately have the offensive upside, strictly isolated offensive upside, in Cam Whitmore over Trey Johnson.
Wait, have Cam Whitmore over Trey Johnson?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Just because Trey Johnson as a shooter, definitely he's going to do more as a passer than Cam Whitmore.
Probably. There's something about Trey Johnson that there's something that I trust. Like he'll score. Like he'll find a way to score. Like he's a creative guy. He's not necessarily a strong 3-point shooter. He's not necessarily a strong at rim guy, but like he will take and make a certain amount of mid-range shots, or he'll get a couple layups. Like he'll find a way, right? And he's skinny. He's not really that big. I wonder if he can absorb contact later on. I just like the physicality of Cam Whitmore a little bit more. I like the shooting. I think for him, it's trying to cobble together in your mind, like, how can I be conducive towards winning? How can I apply myself more when I'm on the floor in terms of quality shot selection, in terms of understanding time and score, understanding my place in this hierarchy of the game, so I can level up organically. Trey Johnson, I fear it's early, so I don't want to put this on him, but there's some Jordan Hawkins vibes going on there.
Okay.
I don't want to put that on him, by the way. I want him to be better than Jordan Hawkins, to be sure.
Yeah, I think I would still go Trey Johnson over Cam Whitmore, though.
That's fair. I don't mind being wrong on this one because
you know what it is with Cam Whitmore? So we're now on his 2nd team, and it's in the 3rd year of just like he seems like this guy who should be playing more, and yet he's not this guy who is playing more. And that again, Trey Johnson's only very early into his NBA career. So if you had to rank, if you had to rank the hierarchy of importance for the Wizards' young players' prospects, and we're including, so that'd be Sarr, Coulibaly, Trey Johnson, Bub Carrington, Kyshawn George, and Cam Whitmore. Like everybody? There's so many dudes on this team.
I love the way they constructed this. Alex Sarr, I think,
is one.
A little bit, with a bullet probably. So,
but by the way, shooting well from 3 to start the year, Alex Sarr too, and we saw some of that last season. I'm gonna say it right now, and I want to put this on record because I am a noted. I think Bilal Coulibaly is really good. the offensive concerns just with him or what the
Yeah.
limitations are going to be are real.
Yeah.
I think Kyshawn George, I'm going to buy him as the second most important prospect on the Washington Wizards. I think you look at just as a wing body, what he could do defensively, if you're going to get what would be like a good wing comp in terms of facilitation for him. Like if you're going to look at the level of passing he's going to get, it's higher than a Jalen Brown, but maybe not as much as a Jason Tatum, although it's still young. Could he be saddled with that type of playmaking responsibility? You give me that with this type of multi-level shot making from him, or at least the ability to get to the basket, draw. Maybe you want him to draw more fouls, but the ability to draw fouls, the 3-point shooting, being able to work on the ball, off the ball in general is basically what I'm getting at. I'm going to call him. Maybe I'm being a little quick here, but I think Kyshawn George is the second.
Well, you
most
are
important
historically
young player in
premature.
Washington.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got references for that. As
I know.
Well.
So we agree it's SAR 1, and we can talk.
You would have Cam Whitmore too, or would you?
No,
have,
no,
would
no,
be
no,
your two?
no. So not yet. I would have been considering it if he'd actually like landed the way I thought he would land in Washington. The fact that he hasn't is concerning. I'm not going to sit here and say, because I picked him for MIP, I'm just going to be stubborn. No, I mean, you're obviously right. The franchise doesn't trust him to play more than 17 minutes per game, so I can't sit here and justify that selection. The thing to me with Koulibaly is the fact that he's just so raw offensively. And we've seen it also in FIBA competition. He hasn't really stood out. Defensively, I think the upside is great. But you need to be a two-way player in today's game. So, like, even though you are historically premature, I'm actually going to buy into that and probably agree with you. It's going to be Kyshawn George at the number 2 spot here. Because I can't justify Trey Johnson at this point. I just can't.
Right. I mean, the way even Kyshawn George has rebounded this year on defense anyway, I think there's something weird if his foul rate was higher, and also if he wasn't like he shot 75% at the line last year on minimal attempts, which is whatever, and now he's down to 62.5. Like there's something weird going on here, but I'm glad that I don't think I sold you, but I'm glad that we're at least on the same page. That the fact that we're having this conversation to where I don't think would we have even closed last year thinking about it. Probably not.
No. Do we even care about who's number 3 and 4? Do we need to go down the list?
Man, well, I guess it becomes a conversation about Koulibaly at that point, right? Do you think that Trey Johnson belongs over him? Or do you think that Cam Whitmore belongs over him?
So yes, I do. Again, Trey Johnson, I don't want to be negative. I just need to be convinced before I'm getting to that point because, again, he just compared so similarly to Jordan Hawkins coming out of college. I think we're seeing some of the same things where he's like a bit of a shooter. He doesn't really do a whole lot else, really.
I came out of Summer League so certain he was just going to light it up as a shooter in the NBA. I came away so certain. Trey Johnson, not Jordan Hawkins. To be clear.
I mean, and look, I hope so. Because, again, this is going to sound weird, but like, again, you know how in the NBA, the talent level, like Charles Barkley has spoken about this at length over the years. And it's one of the few things I actually agree with him on. He says the talent level in the NBA, it's so close. Like you'll find a guy who's at the end of the bench. He's so much closer to LeBron that you actually, realize in terms of talent, professionalism, all these things. So what I'm trying to say here is there's a fine line between, Jordan Hawkins and Ray Allen, so to speak. And so for Trey Johnson, it's just about hitting those marks and becoming more Ray than it is becoming less Jordan Hawkins. He's 6 games into his career, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's Jordan Hawkins. I don't want to do that. But I am getting some of those vibes at times. And when he's sitting and when he's on, I can get the Ray Allen vibes. So it's like, where does he end up leaning towards?
That's such a range of
it sounds like that, but you know what I mean though. Like sometimes when you lean into a good shot, like there have been occasions where he's taken a shot where you're like, oh yeah, like it's in rhythm, everything is aligned. The placement of the feet, just where you can see that ball is going in as soon as it left his fingertips, right? I rarely have that feeling with Jordan Hawkins, for example. Like, I don't know where that ball is going up. I don't. And that's the inconsistency factor. Trey Johnson is 19, unless he's turned 20. Let me just double check. Yeah, he's 19 years old. So I feel really uncomfortable sitting here going, oh, yeah, like he's not going to be good. I just need to see more. Like, ask me this question about Trey Johnson in, like, March.
You have anything else to add before we get out of here?
So we've recorded for almost 2 hours, so I don't think so, no.
Can you just tell our audience where they can find you and all the great work that you do?
You can find me at Yahoo Sports. You can find me at Forbes. You can listen to me at the NBA podcast, which you are probably right now, actually. If you speak Danish by any chance, you can listen to my podcast Buzzer Beater, or you can catch me calling games on HBO Max.
Until next time, and as always, we leave with a shout out to the one, the only, the real true breakout star in our hearts of all time, Mr. Frank Ntilikina.